Bedtime Stories for Kids, Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, on the edge of a dark forest, there lived a poor woodcutter with his two children, Hansel and Gretel, and their stepmother. Their cottage was small, their clothes were threadbare, and there was never quite enough food. That winter was cruel. The wind howled like wolves outside the shuttered windows, and the cupboard stood empty more often than not. One night, as the children lay awake in their straw beds, they heard raised voices from the next room. "We have no more bread," the stepmother hissed. "If we don't do something, we'll all starve." "What do you want me to do?" the father asked in a broken voice. "They're just children." "Exactly. 2 mouths less means 2 more days of food. Take them into the woods tomorrow. Far, deep enough they won't find their way back." Hansel's eyes widened in the dark. "She wants to leave us," he whispered. "We'll never let that happen," Gretel said, clutching his hand. But Hansel was already thinking, "I'll fix this." At dawn, the stepmother shook them awake. "Up, you lazy things. We're gathering firewood today." She stuffed a crust of bread in each child's hand and bundled them in thin coats. Hansel, however, had filled his pocket with white pebbles from the garden the night before. As they followed their father deeper into the woods, he dropped a stone every few steps, a trail, glinting like stars in the early morning light. The trees grew thicker, the birds fell silent. The path disappeared behind them. "Rest here," the father said, voice heavy. "We'll be back soon." He walked off into the trees, and never returned. Gretel curled up beside Hansel, frightened. "What do we do?" Hansel smiled slightly. "We follow the stones." And under the pale light of the moon, the stones glimmered like magic. One by one, the children followed them, all the way back to their cottage. Their father gasped when he saw them. "You're safe." But the stepmother's face darkened. "How did you?" "The forest gave us back," Hansel said simply. But the cupboard was still empty, and the stepmother's anger still burned. Days passed. The bread was gone. The firewood was low. One evening, the children heard the stepmother whisper again. They found their way back once. This time, go deeper. Hansel tried to sneak out for more stones, but the stepmother had locked the door. "No wandering after dark," she snapped. So Hansel turned to the only thing he had left, the crust of bread tucked in his pocket. As they followed their father into the woods again, he quietly dropped crumbs, one by one, onto the forest floor. But what Hansel didn't know was that behind them, sparrows flew down from the trees, snatching up every crumb. That night, when the sun set and the children tried to follow the trail home, there was nothing. "The crumbs, they're gone," Hansel whispered. "The birds," Gretel said, eyes wide. "I'm sorry," Hansel said softly. "I thought it would work." Gretel reached for his hand. "We'll find another way." They wandered for what felt like hours, the woods stretching endlessly in every direction. Their stomachs ached, their feet dragged, and then they smelled it. Sweetness, warm sugar in the air, a scent like cinnamon and caramel drifting between the trees. They followed it and pushed through the brush and gasped. In the clearing stood a house made entirely of gingerbread and candy. The windows were sugar glass. The roof was tiled with cookies, licorice wrapped around peppermint columns. "Is it real?" Gretel breathed. Hansel stepped forward and broke a piece of icing from the wall. He tasted it. "It's real." They ran to the house, laughing. Hunger forgotten. They nibbled on caramel shingles, bit into candy canes, licked toffee from the windowsills. But then, a creaking sound. The door opened, and a voice, sweet as syrup, called out, "Who's eating my house?" An old woman stepped into the doorway. Her eyes were small and shining. Her smile stretched a bit too wide. "You poor dears," she cooed. "You must be starving. Come in, come in." Hansel and Gretel hesitated. But the warmth inside, and the smell of stew, were too much. They followed her in. The door closed behind them, and clicked shut. Inside the candy house, the air was thick with the smell of roasting herbs and honey. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting shadows on the crooked walls. The old woman bustled about, placing bowls of steaming stew in front of the children. "Eat, eat my sweetlings," she sang. "You need fattening up." Gretel sipped hers cautiously. Hansel devoured his foods. "You're too kind," Gretel said quietly. The old woman smiled. But there was something strange in her eyes, a glint, a hunger. That night, they slept in feather beds, warmer than they'd ever known. But at dawn, Gretel awoke to the sound of chains clanking. She sat up. Hansel, no answer. She crept from the room, her bare feet silent on the creaking floorboards. And then she saw it. Hansel locked in an iron cage near the oven, his face pale and confused. "Gretel," he whispered, "it's a trap." The old woman stood behind her. "You," she hissed, "will be my little helper. Let him go." "Oh no, no, no," the witch cackled. "He will be roasted and eaten, but not yet. He's too thin." She turned to Hansel and grinned. "Every morning, I'll check your finger. When you're fat enough, the feast begins." "You're a monster," Gretel said through gritted teeth. The witch laughed, dragging her into the kitchen. "Stoke the fire, child, chop wood, wash the pans." Gretel obeyed. But inside, she was watching, planning, waiting. Each day Hansel was fed rich food through the bars of the cage, while Gretel was given only scraps. Each morning, the witch demanded, "Stick out your finger, boy." But Hansel was clever. He found a thin bone from a chicken and held it out instead. The witch, nearly blind, squinted, still skinny. She grumbled, "Drat," and so the days passed. But then, one morning, "I'm tired of waiting," the witch barked. "Today, we cook him, skinny or not." "No," Gretel cried. "Enough. Heat the oven." The fire roared. The room filled with smoke. "Check if it's hot enough," the witch ordered. I don't know how," Gretel said, trying to sound innocent. "Foolish girl," the witch snapped. "Like this." She bent to check the flames. And in that instant, Gretel shoved her with all her strength. The witch toppled in with a scream, and the heavy iron door slammed shut. Gretel stood shaking, staring at the oven. The house was silent, except for the crackling fire. For a long moment, Gretel stood frozen. The fire crackled behind the oven door. The witch was gone. Then she ran. Hansel. She found the key hanging from a hook and rushed to the cage. With trembling hands, she turned the lock. The door creaked open. Hansel stumbled into her arms. "You did it," he whispered, voice hoarse. "We did it," Gretel said, holding him tightly. "Now let's get out of here." But before they fled, Gretel noticed a trapdoor in the floor. With Hansel's help, she pried it open. Inside was a chest of gold coins and jewels, treasures the witch had taken from other lost souls over the years. "Let's take some," Hansel said. "We can help Father." So they filled their pockets and bundled the rest into a cloth sack. Then they stepped outside into sunlight. The forest no longer seemed so dark. Birdsong returned to the trees. The path once hidden, now felt familiar. "Do you think we'll find our way back?" Gretel asked. "We found our way out," Hansel said. "We can find anything now." Days passed. They walked through brambles and under starlight. They shared berries and drank from brooks. They told each other stories at night and dreamed of home. And one morning, as mist rolled off the trees, they saw it, their father's cottage. He was outside, chopping wood, thinner and sadder than they remembered. When he saw them, the axe dropped from his hands. "Hansel, Gretel." They ran into his arms. "You came back," he whispered, tears falling. "I thought I'd lost you forever." They wept together in the warm morning sun. The stepmother. She had vanished long before, perhaps swallowed by her own bitterness, and the treasures the children carried. They brought food, warmth, and comfort to their humble home. But more than that, Hansel and Gretel brought hope, and a reminder that even the deepest forest can be escaped, as long as you walk together.